We draw, it's the first thing we do when we get given things that we can act on surfaces with, whether it's sticks in sand or pencils. As children, we start making shapes, and it's orientating yourself in a world, in space, in a world of objects. It's like a child will move their arms around. It's sort of, here am I in the world amongst other things, and I'm navigating. And there's a great pleasure as well in the child. Once they learn to draw, they can make things out of nothing. They can make their mother on a piece of paper. They can make a house. They can make an animal, and they can make the animal with they can make a world. And then at about 13, 14, people get self-conscious and they lose it, and I can't draw, and I can't draw the world, and I can't make the world, and I've lost all my power. I've lost that magic. I'm Liza Dimbleby, and I'm an artist and writer, and I've taught at the Royal Drawing School since 2005. I did a Russian degree, and I went to Moscow in 1989 for a year. And around that time, I sort of felt like I wasn't able to say what I wanted to say within the academic context, and the language itself could somehow lead you into dead ends as much as it freed you. And there was at that time, I started just going and drawing in a little church, and then doing little life classes around Oxford. And then I suddenly felt, wow, this language really can speak truly to me, and I can physically connect with it in ways that the language that I was using in academic work, I wasn't feeling that physical connection. And so I didn't really look back. I just thought, how exciting to have this other language. At the time, there was a real resistance from art schools, and a lot of people came to the drawing school who kind of hadn't got what they wanted from art school, and who felt they didn't know what to do, and they didn't know how to paint because they didn't know how to draw, which maybe everyone feels all the time, but they just didn't have that natural experience that drawing is something you can just do, and it leads you somewhere. Yes, this question of the relation of drawing and writing, and whether the writing leads back to drawing. I mean, I'm very interested in how close those things are, and that drawing into writing and writing into drawing. And of course, the marks of drawing are 30,000 years older than the marks of writing. But writing is often trying to realise a picture or an image in your mind, and it's trying to realise it in words. So I was always paying close attention to so what is it? What is it that's essential in a drawing, when a drawing feels it hits the mark, and what is it essential when words do? And I think both of them are dealing with similar things, where you're trying to get to something through a language, and then you can feel it when it hits home. I've got one ongoing kind of journey in my head that is a verbal writing one, which is to do with evoking images in written words and putting the world into shape through words. And there's this other drawing journey which is less known to me and less controllable, which is putting the world into shape through drawn marks. And it is more frightening because it's way less controllable and it's way less knowable. And there's another thing which I've noticed a lot over the years, is actually to make that journey, to give myself permission to go to the visual, because it's also more pleasurable in some ways. There's more desire in it. There's more, it can go, it's very wayward and anarchic, and things that Timothy Hyman has spoken about, this kind of, this wayward liberty of the line. And that is a bit frightening, because there's something quite safe, that words, there's a structure that is very clear, but a line can go anywhere and go wherever it wants. So drawing the unspeakable, the idea came out of a conversation between the director of Town Gallery and my dad, who had been chairman here. He'd heard that Dad and I were sending each other images in lockdown. And so he said, why don't you do a drawing show? And it was going to be just a very small show, curating the Towner collection, which is here in the vaults. And I thought, great, it'll be like a little weekend in Eastbourne, and I can we can put together, get something just fun, just rearrange what's in the store here. You know, suddenly all these big names were kind of coming in and being in the show, and the show had mushroomed to 300 works, in fact, too many works. Like, we had to try and fit them all in. So it became something bigger than we knew, but it was all done working in the dark and working by instinct. And the title, the theme of the show, you know, it was December 23, with the 2 major wars at least going on, and many more. And at the same time, there was a lot of personal difficulties. And so it was sort of saying, well, what does drawing do? What could drawing do that words can't? And then somehow out of that came the title, Drawing the Unspeakable. These things that words can't quite get to, and that maybe drawings can amplify the sense around those things. So. The language of drawing, it's a whole other medium, and you use your hands, you use textures, you use these physical bits of the world, you use bits of earth and soot and stuff that are broken up and ground down, and you use viscosity. So you're actually taking the material of the world before you, and then you're connecting it with your nerved body, either angrily or gently or kindly, or maybe analytically, or but there's always this connection of this physical hand holding the thing, and something inside which is very hard to fathom and put into words, and it can sound cliche. All these drawings that I was trying to get in this show were things where you could feel that unknowable, unquantifiable bit, whether it's energy, instinct, intensity. It's an intensity of bodily experience or feeling trying to get out. We draw because we have mud and sticks, and we have ground earth, we have soot, and we have these things to hand. We have our hands, and we can talk with our hands, point and things, but actually we can up the stakes when we reach for the stick and the mud. And the animals do it too. There's like this I was thinking about, you know, the bees, the waggle dance, and the way that bees dance to indicate where good things are, where the honey is. It's over there. We are signalling to each other as human beings in space. We signal about basic things like where's the food, or, you know, the dangerous animals are about to come and get us, or the dangerous humans are going to come and get us more likely. As our lives became supposedly more safe, we go into more more other sorts of fears and sadnesses and griefs and longings and something beyond, that our feeling for something of, you know, this human state that we're in, which can feel very frightening, very constraining. And drawing is a way of signalling that, and we need all the ways we can get, you know, to try and communicate better with each other. When we started the show, I think, well, you know, obviously verbal communication and written things, and, you know, it's not diplomacy. You know, these things aren't working, and even within families, words aren't working. So actually, we do need things to be more human. We'll try. So the language is defined by the medium very much, I suppose, and the language finds itself through the medium, but also through the image ideas in the head of the artist and what they're trying to pull out of this black pool, or pull out of this sooty mess, or pull out of these fields of marks. You know, through that, they're rooting about in this kind of chaos, because the medium itself is not defined. It actually kind of protects people, and they take what they need from it. So I think actually it's a more forgiving and more yielding language. It's a better language. It's a more holding language than a verbal one. Artists draw because they need to do it, and they want to be truthful, and they're kind of wanting to get to something that is true because they don't like the half-true world that they find themselves in, and they don't like the hypocrisies, or they don't like the obfuscations, or so a lot of it is about that. I think it's about trying to say, no, well, everyone's saying it's like this, but actually I see it like this. And that's why I think it's really important that anyone should be allowed to do that, because you don't need an art degree to say this is how I feel and this is how I see it.